Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Disciple Thoughts. I am your host, Important Dams. As someone who is very heavy on the gospel of Disciple Thoughts, of dying to self, I thought today let me be light, let me be practical about how that looks every day when we're being called to die every day. How does that look every day? And as I was thinking about this, the verse Proverbs 3:6, which says, in all of your ways, in all of your ways, in all of your ways, not some, not the ones that you find comfortable, but in all of your ways, consider him, acknowledge him, and in that way he will make your path straight. And I just started thinking about it. I'm just like, do I consider God in everything? Yes, I do consider him, but is it in everything? I started thinking about a simple act of just considering him in an outfit. Do I ask him what he thinks about the outfit? Do I ask him what I should wear? Do I ask him what I should eat? Do I ask him, like just the small things? Do I consider him in everything? And I got this analogy of a friend whom I trust so much. And whenever I am finding it difficult to make a decision, whether big or small, I will call her, and her consideration is always my final consideration. Her input, rather, is always my final consideration. And that's because I trust her, right? And I believe that that's the same relationship that God is calling us into, where we trust him so much that we are able to consider him in everything, big or small. We are able to consider him again with our outfits. We are able to consider him with the people we chill with, the people we just surround ourselves with. We're able to consider him with the people that we date. We're able to consider him with just the small, big, everything. We consider him in everything. And I believe that it is in these small ways, it is in these small other actions, decisions of us considering him that build up a muscle of obedience. Because you don't just wake up and you're obedient, but I believe that it is in these moments where we are able to trust him with something as small as an outfit, wherein we can get to a place where y'all know those testimonies where people are just like, God told me to leave my job, and I did. And you're just like, girl. But I believe that this is where it all starts. This is where it all begins. But we need to trust him, because I recognize that I'm able to call my friend because I trust her. And so we need to trust God so that we are able to consider him. But again, this will always go back to the same thing, that to trust him is to know him. You need to know who he is. I cannot stress this enough. Like, it's so important to know God. You need to know God for yourself. And can I please digress? There's someone who asked on the comments on my second episode on how we can know God for ourselves. God for who he is, not for what he has done. I think that was the question. And I think that for me, right, and I always say this because I've also heard it so much from Jackie Hill Perry. She always says that we are a self-centered generation. We are so much of a self-centered generation that is even showing up in the way that we read scriptures. Instead of us going into the Bible to look for God, to look for Christ, we are looking for ourselves. We are looking for scriptures that are going to relate to our situations, not necessarily going in there to know more about God. And I always make this analogy about, if you're studying for creative arts, you won't go to a maths textbook to study for creative arts in that book, because in that book you'll find what's about maths. Does it make sense? Yes. And so you will go to a creative arts book to know more about creative art. And I think that's the same attitude that we should have towards reading the Bible. We know that the Bible is about God, therefore we should go in there to look for God. And so I think one of the things that I have gotten into the habit of doing is that whenever I read a scripture chapter, I ask myself, what does this tell me about God's nature, God's character? What is this telling me? Like a verse as simple as, I can see, we don't walk by what? Sight, we walk by faith. What does that tell me about God? And I say all of that to conclude, in order for us to trust Him, to consider Him in all of our ways, we need to know Him. Always going to go back to the knowing. It's very important for us to know Him. And so, yeah, guys, that was it from me today. See you next week.